And I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. And I'm loving life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. Doing my life with friends. And I'm loving life with friends.
Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Love and Life. I'm here on the blue couch with my brother Keo.
Yes. Yes, love it.
So we've already been speaking about finances, and we're going to continue that conversation. But I want us to use, I think, this time we're together to get really practical about it. You know, seasons, friendships, finances, they're always kind of shifting and changing in line with how God is calling us and building us to be better. Right. And it'd be great for you to just share some like practical insights on how you live your life based on how God has spoken to you and worked in you to know how to navigate those kind of free spaces, which is, you know, friendship and finances. Well, two spaces, friendship and finances especially.
Yeah. I feel like with my friendships, I think one thing that God has really spoken to me about is just being careful about like how I manage different situations with friends depending on like what they're going through and what I'm going through. And that kind of ties in with finances as well. So like you said, with seasons, they're always changing, and I think sometimes you already know what season someone's going to be in, and or you know what season someone is in because like you're obviously speaking to them, you're your friends. So I think sometimes even before asking certain questions, you can kind of just be a bit considerate and just think, all right, cool. I know they're maybe getting married, or I know they're maybe going through a hard time. So let me just leave it for now. Let me not ask certain questions, or let me not. So I think that's one thing God has spoken to me about, just being careful about that, just kind of using my initiative really in a sense, and just showing some understanding. And I think I get that also as well on the back end in reverse. So that's helpful. I think that's, so as far as friendships and like how that kind of ties into finances there, that's one thing that I think is very, very helpful. If you know that your friend is going for a certain season, you can maybe just use your initiative a little bit and just think, okay, what could be helpful to do at this time, or what could be helpful not to do, which can kind of support them in the time that they're in, whether it's a harder season or like a maybe more abundant season. You can just kind of think about, okay, what's the best thing?
Yeah, no, I love that. I think one thing I always try to do is just practice understanding, which is, even say I am the one getting married or I'm having a wedding, and I want everyone, you know, to show up and get involved. I also have to manage my expectations with them. Right. So it's because even though God has blessed me in this season, you know, to settle and marry, let's say that's the case, that's not everyone else's exact season. And just be grateful for whatever it is that they can bring of themselves in that time, whether it's them just at least showing up or them doing the whole shebang if I've asked them to. In some cases, maybe be a bridesmaid or all these kind of things. And I was just thinking, as we were speaking about like friendships and finances, because I think it heavily plugs into seasons. I was thinking of the friendship between David and Jonathan in the Bible. So what was really interesting is they were really good friends when it started off as, you know, David's been kind of brought into like the royal family kind of set up. He's cool with, at this point, he's still cool with King Saul. And then him and Jonathan have become really good friends. But one thing that actually was really remarkable to me is there's a season where, you know, David is in the wilderness, like literally hiding for his life from Jonathan's dad, strangely. But Jonathan is still like this prince. He's still got all this money. He's still doing all he's doing. And actually, they're still solid friends to the point that even while David is in the wilderness, you know, wondering how he's going to get through it, that Jonathan still from that place came and comforted him and encouraged him and said, you're going to be good. Like, you're going to be all right, bro. Like, hold on. It's going to be cool. Like, don't worry. And I just think that's such a beautiful example of two friends in completely different seasons and setups, but still being able to encourage each other. And I think that's a lesson we can take away. It's not the most obvious aspect that I think we sometimes think about their friendships. We would just say, oh, they're really great friends, but they actually went through quite significantly different seasons. But because of that genuine like friendship and care for each other, it meant that even after all that passed, with all that Saul did, to the point when Saul died, and even Jonathan died as well, that David was still loyal to that generation. That the minute he became king, like whoever was still part of that lineage, he was going to honor them. He was going to give them a seat at his table. And I just think that's just such a beautiful example that even finances, that's no reason to like separate us or stop or change the way we love
100%.
and care for each other. And just that understanding and encouragement we all need, especially when you're the one who's probably doing a bit better than the other one. Like take that time out. And also vice versa. You never know how you can encourage someone who 100%. Quote unquote has it all together because they have a big paycheck.
Yeah,
because money doesn't answer or solve everything,
exactly,
right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think what you're talking into is key. Like even we were just saying earlier about how like maybe if you help a friend, you don't necessarily have to like keep talking about it, or like you keep bringing it up just because like it's cool, like it's done, like you honored your word at the time and you just kind of you let it fly, you just kind of forget about it. And I think the Bible obviously reminds us to do that. It's like when it says obviously when you give to the poor, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And it's like even if it's not it could be your friend, it doesn't necessarily have to be the poor, but it's just like you kind of just let it pass from your mind because you just want to, you've been the friend that you need to be, and you just call it a day after that, you know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like, yeah, I think it's important to just like remember that like your friends, they could be going through all different kinds of situations, and it's like you said, like you want to be there to support and just be the friend that you're supposed to be. And I think the Bible shows us how to do that really well. So yeah,
man. One thing I also think about finances, and one thing I'm learning, especially when you're giving us the model of like transparency, is that maybe it's just me, but I see that there's a lot of friendship groups where that transparency just isn't happening. Yeah. Like people aren't saying, not that you have to, again, like you said, with wisdom, you don't have to, just share every account detail. Yeah. But there's no transparency in saying, this is the season I'm in, this is what I'm working towards. And that's just like me. Why do you think that some people are like, why is that not happening as much?
That's a good point. I think maybe it has what has a part to play in is maybe like this age that we're in, where obviously you're just trying to always look like you're doing better than you actually are doing. And because it's easy to look like you're doing really well when you might not really be doing that well, because there's so many ways and loopholes where you can have all the material things which make it look like you're doing really well, but you may not actually really have, do you know what I mean, the means to get those things, but you found a loophole. So I think if you really went into depth about certain financial situations, it's like it would expose the reality of your situation. And I don't think all of us want that reality to be exposed, you get what I mean? So I think there's that part of it, and I think that plays a big part in the time that we're living in now. But then also maybe like shame if you're not doing so well, because obviously things are harder right now, cost of living, all of that stuff. So I think sometimes it's like you don't necessarily want people to know, but then sometimes you are doing well, and it's like you don't really want to make people feel a certain way if you know they aren't in the same place. Or then also there's another side to that. It's like you'd rather just keep that to yourself, because it's like I'd rather not people. I'd rather people don't know, and they start counting everything that I make, or they think I'm. Do you know what I mean? So it's like everything becomes about how much I make. So there could be a whole host of different reasons. I think it will be harder in this time, like the times that we're living in now, to have that transparency than it would be back then, when maybe just times were just a bit more simple. Yeah. So I do get it. You know what I mean? But I think the bridge to cross is just find out who you can be close with. Who you can confine in, and just do that. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's just easier when you can be transparent, even if things aren't good. It's just better because you're not. There's no bars in it. Your life is free, and you can feel free around, even if it's just like two people. when you can feel free around certain people, it's a better feeling. It's a better place to be. And then feeling like, let me not say this or let me not say that because I don't want them to know this and that. And it's just like now you're doing maths in your head to figure out. Do you know what I mean? So it's just better when you can have that transparency. So if you know, and like I'm able to have like a couple of people I can do that with, then that's great. Do you know what I mean? We move forward with that, you know.
Yeah.
So
I love the point as we like continue to talk about transparency. There's something you touched on when we were having a bit of a before we got back onto the cameras, just about that accountability that comes with transparency as well.
Right.
As in, and linked again back to like managing money and finances, and ultimately we all recognize money as a tool because we know the love of money is evil. It's not that money is evil. Like money is to be used. I think it even says it in Ecclesiastes, you know, that like money is what makes the world go around. It's a tool to help things happen.
Right.
So in that being the case, like talk about how it can be valuable in being transparent, especially when it comes to like accountability. If you have goals for yourself, do you have any like insights that you could share with us just on that?
I think maybe when you share your financial goals with someone, or if you kind of let them know, even if they just know your situation, if you have that transparency there with certain people, then yes, that I think that accountability can come into place. So for example, it's like if you've told a friend that, you know, I'm trying to save for a house, do you know what I mean? And I don't want to be spending money foolishly. And then, do you know what I mean? And then they see you, I don't know, buying something foolish, like, you know, you know what I mean? So it's like, then you can be like, yo, I thought you said you were going to do, you can just hold them accountable. You can be like, yo, I thought you said you were going to do this. Or like, is that really a smart thing to do? Do you know what I mean? But because they've been opened up to like what's really going on, they can provide that role for you and help you to stay on track. But if you don't let them know, then they can't really help you, you know? So I think that's nice to have that, do you know what I mean? So yeah, or even if you're just like you're just making bad decisions financially, if your friends know the situation, or if they know like, look, like you could just be doing, you could be spending your money wiser if you just know you've been able to open up that conversation. Yeah. Even if they don't necessarily have a take on whether you can like be saving more money or like you're spending money foolishly, if you're just open to have financial discussions, if they see you spending money in a certain way, they can say, bro, do you know what, this might be better. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I see my friend maybe spending money on a car that I know that he could probably get cheaper if he bought somewhere else, but because we've had a financial discussion, I feel comfortable to now say this thing to him. So it's like, I think that comes into play once you've got that transparency there. Yeah,
and I think as well, just off the back of that, we've got some growing, especially in this season, or this society, kind of the times we're in, to become like, to learn to be less sensitive if we're held to account, 100%. Especially around money. 100%. I think sometimes we don't even talk about money, or we're not transparent about it because we don't want to be held accountable.
Yeah, right.
It's like, because if I tell you, if I'm like, Kios, or you know, I'm trying to save, I want to buy a house, and then you'll be like, yeah, like, wow, that's cool, sis, like, I'm proud of you. Then you see me, this day I was at Nando's, that day I was at Wagamama. Like every day I'm just eating out every week. And then I go to ASOS, do a haul. I'm on Instagram doing, look at all the clothes I've just bought. You'll then be like, sis, I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I'll be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't want that. Yeah, I know that.
But we need to come, like, I'm just saying, I think generally as well, and I say this to myself, of we need to be a bit better, and even after we've shared what our financial goals are, to give our friends the room to hold us to be accountable. Oh yeah. And to call us out when we are doing the opposite of what we said we were going to do as well, and not be insensitive.
Yeah, 100%. It may be annoying, but it's one of those things, like, I love food, right? So it's like, if my friend was like trying to stop me from buying food or something like that, like, you know, like Krispy Kremes is like £20 a box these days. That's not a wise financial decision in any circumstance, whether you're rich or poor. So I think, like, if my friend stopped me from doing that, and I would be upset, you know what I mean? So I get it, like, it's natural, right? So you'd probably want to push back on it. But I think that's part of what a friendship is all about, right? It's like, it's knowing that sometimes your friend will say something that doesn't necessarily agree with you at the moment, but later on you'll be like, do you know what, that was wise. Yeah. Or you can just shrug it off and be like, do you know what, they had the best interest for me. I'm not really here for it right now, but I know they've got the best interest at heart.
Yeah.
I think, that's part of it. Just knowing that your friends aren't always going to say things that you agree with. But I think what makes you friends is that after it, just being like, yeah, but it's still my friend, it's still my brother, it's still my sister. Do you get what I mean? So it's like not taking it to heart and being, and letting that be like, nah, what, you stopped me from doing this? That's it, we're done. Do you know what I mean? So avoiding that and just being like, all right, cool. Yeah, I either agree or I don't agree, and we keep it moving, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I love that point you raised about, sometimes when you say something to a friend and they're really honest and like, I'm not ready to hear that right now. I remember having a conversation with a friend once, and I was, not that I was necessarily giving her counsel, but she was sharing how she felt about something. And I was quite honest and direct, just because we're really close. And I said, well, what needs to happen is you need to do this, you need to do that. And she came back to me, she was like, do you know what, Val, I'm going to be honest, I don't want to hear that right now. Like, of course it's not beef, and we're still really, really close friends, but she just knew at that point in time, that's not what she wanted to hear. It's not what she needed to hear, but she didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, right.
But she was direct with me and said, I don't want to hear that right now. And I said, do you know what, I completely respect that. I was just saying, but I'm always going to keep it real with you.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's part of our friendship, and that's probably why it continues to thrive in itself, because we'll always be real with each other. In the same way, I might do something and she'll be like, yeah, Val, that's not how you behave usually, or that's out of character, or why you started to do that now, or that's not going to help you in the long run, so you need to stop it. But we give each other that permission,
right?
And yes, we can be sensitive, but like we let that emotion, like we ride that wave, and then we let it pass, and then say, but the black and white of it is, I know you're rooting for me and I'm rooting for you, 100%. So I'm only going to be real with you because I want you to be better.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. Yeah, I think just understanding if your friend has your best interests at heart, then you can kind of just, you go through the moment of where you're disgruntled or whatever, but you kind of know that, look, this is still mine. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I've had disagreements with friends on multiple occasions if they've told me something where maybe I didn't like, or I've told them something they didn't like, but it's like next morning it's like, yo, like, should we go? Let's go and eat. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just have to let the moment pass, and I think that's how you actually build stronger friendships, isn't it? Because you go through that thick and thin thing. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, we've been through it all. Like, what really is going to separate us now? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's a key part of the friendship. Just knowing that you always keep it real, however we feel about the situation, and as long as we can move on the next day, it's absolutely fine.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah. Honestly, well, thanks so much. I'm so glad that we had you join us, because I'm not gonna lie, the transparency around finances is still blowing my mind. And I think it's because it's not spoken about enough, and it's not just in a friendship setting. I think society-wise, it's almost like a bit of a taboo. Like, you don't really talk about how much money you make. It's even in when you apply for jobs, they don't want to tell you what the salary is. And I'm like, I don't know why they make it like
you don't apply for those ones.
But it's like, we need money for shelter, for food, to get going. So all this weird secrecy, I don't get it. And I don't think it actually helps us in the grand scheme of things. Of course, you don't need to tell everybody your life. And we do have to be aware of what I call monitoring spirits, which is where people just want to be counting and watching what it is you're doing, so they can also be doing, this person, I'm calculating, so I can be involved, that's not what we're going for. But we need to definitely be talking about it more. And I think especially if it's a friend, someone you trust, someone you say we're doing life together, in the same ways we talk about, being vulnerable with them and, encouraging them or asking for help, that talking about money is part of that. And we need to kind of get past that fear or whatever it is that is kind of, because if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I think Gibson's mentioned it before, where you could know, you basically have the code, you have the secret, you have the tool. but because we don't talk about money, you just don't share it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then one of you is less better off than the other,
Right,
when we
yeah.
all could have been winning together because we
Exactly.
just don't talk about money.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you can just operate in a better space with your friends.
Yeah.
If there's that transparency there, it just makes life a little bit easier. Do you know what I mean? It probably introduces complications as well at the same time.
Yeah,
I'm sure it
of course.
does. But the blessings outweigh those complications. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I think it's the balance between having those maybe difficult moments and the good moments with your friends that make the friendship so strong. So I think having that transparency there introduces that, which allows you to then to just kind of just generate a tighter bond with your friends. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's it's been helpful for me. So yeah.
I think one of the last things I will touch on is just they talk about the gifts of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. I think self-control and patience, or like understanding, I'd always want to throw in there.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to this area, especially with finances, those are two key gifts of the Spirit that are so important for all of us, especially as believers. It's one, our understanding that if everybody's not on the same level of you, you've got to manage your expectations on what they can give, and vice versa. If you're on the other side, you need to be real about what you can do, but then also the self-control part, which is let's not let our sensitivity or our emotions kind of blind us from good counsel when it comes to like finances and accountability, but also not let our emotions as well guide us if we hear someone else is doing better than us. Like the stories you shared, it should always be, if I hear my brother or my sister's doing really well, that should inspire me to challenge my complacency, not think, that person's got it, what about me? It shouldn't be a route to envy. It should be a route to encouragement or inspiration.
Right.
And I'm really hoping, like, for you guys as well, that's what you're taking away. That's what I'm taking away from our conversation. Just in everything you've shared, that actually, if my friend's doing better than me, it's not a reason for me to be entitled to what they have, but to be inspired by what inspired by what they've done, and actually pull myself to the full, potential that I have.
100%. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, it's because it just helps you to channel anything that's negative or any negative emotion into something that can be positive. And I think that's always going to be a good thing because it will just drive you forward, So yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, this has been great. This has been sweet. And I'm really glad. Well, I love your demeanor, and I think you're great. I love your wife. I love your child. I love everybody. So glad you could join us. Thanks for being with us on Love and Life. And you guys, thanks for joining us for another episode. It's really, really been a pleasure. And we hope this blesses you and encourages you. And don't be shy to talk about your finances with your trusted friends, of course.
Right.
Please don't be shy to you. It may bless you more than you know.
All right, that's it.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Love and Life. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Bless you.